This is the Risky Roads podcast. We are the only Nebraska ball podcast, and we hope that you guys listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're getting all content out to you guys wherever you can find it. Well, maybe not wherever, only basically those places. But we hope that you guys immerse yourself in the Nebraska basketball Risky Roads podcast universe, and that we can really help you guys become bigger fans for the Huskers. We know this podcast was a little bit late after the Clemson game, and maybe you've already listened to some other stuff. So we took a more holistic approach about the first 7 games of the season, talking about who the most improved player was, in our opinion, and also how satisfied we were with the first 7 games, which I made a poll on HHC about that too. And then of course we talked about Illinois, our first conference opponent coming up Sunday, and what we see from them. Sadly, Jake had to leave after about 10 minutes in this one, so I will be finishing this one on my own, but either way it should be a pretty good episode. Looking forward to Sunday. So we're back after a busy week for us, not so much for the Huskers. They only had one game since 2 Tuesdays ago, or however you say that. Or no, they didn't. They played Western Illinois too, since we recorded one. And then they played the big game against Clemson and won that 68-66. So how are you feeling after those 2 games? Think we'll be in the top 25 if we beat Illinois?
Yeah, I think if we beat Illinois by at least a decent amount, I think we have a pretty good chance of being in top 25.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, they didn't seem to like us before Texas Tech. Maybe they just wanted us to get a real win. But I'm not so sure, but it doesn't really matter anyway. So today we're going to probably talk a little less about plain statistics and get into a few different things that we've been seeing on and kind of off the court as the season has progressed. So let's start with a poll that I did and say where you would fall. So I did a poll on Husker Hoops Central, and I said, after tonight's win, which was against Clemson, describe your feeling towards the team's performance so far. Not satisfied, satisfied, very satisfied, or unfathomably satisfied. Right now, the poll is at 5 or 6% not satisfied, 63% satisfied, and 28% very satisfied, and only like 3% unfathomably satisfied. So, where do you think you would fall after the first 7 games?
I would probably just say satisfied. I think I'd be very satisfied if we hadn't lost at all, and if we had beat Clemson by like a little more. I think that'd be very satisfied, and then, I don't know, unfathomably satisfied. We haven't played any good enough teams and won to be that.
Wow. For me, I was at very satisfied. I think that we've actually done pretty well this season. We're like, in the top 10 for net rankings. I think we're 8 right now, which goes off of how much you win each game by and who you're playing. And I think that kind of tells the story of the first 7 games, even if it's not like an accurate season of how good we are. I think it's kind of an accurate projection on how good our start of the season has been. And in there, Texas Tech is 3rd in that ranking, so that's probably why it didn't hurt so much to lose to them. But we've blown out the teams that have been bad, and then we've really, I mean, we've won 2 out of the 3 games that were against decent teams. Hopefully Seton Hall doesn't completely suck as the year goes on, but especially against Clemson, once we beat them, I think I was very satisfied there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see where you're coming from, but I don't want to give them that yet.
Yeah, that's what I think some people are saying, like, from people who said not satisfied. I don't think people were saying, like, oh, we've sucked so far, this has not been good. I mean, maybe they were, and I think they're very wrong in that. But I think maybe they're just saying, well, we don't want to, like, if they don't win a tournament game, I'm not satisfied yet. So I did start looking into last season, and I think a lot of people are almost overly, they think it's harder than it is to get into the tournament because of how last year went. And I think the main thing that people don't see is the quadrant 1 wins. Like, we feel like we probably got more than this, but we only got 1 out of 7 wins in the quadrant 1 games that we played, and we only went 2-5 or something. So we were like, we only won 3 quadrant 1 or 2 games, and it's possible that Seton Hall might be a quadrant 2 and Clemson will probably be a quadrant 1. So we're already 2/3 of the way there to, like, matching what we got last year. Yeah. So I think that's an important thing. Even though we might lose a few more games, they should be against good teams because our conference is really good this year. And we should be able to easily get more than 3 quadrant 1 or 2 games or wins without playing crazy well this year. This is a way too early question, but what would you put the percentage chance that we make the tournament this year at? It's so early.
I mean, like, I guess if you just based on the way we're playing, if we stay the exact same or get better, I'd say like 65% chance, 70%.
Yeah, it's really hard.
I mean, we were so close last year, and we're much better, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about... See, this is what I was talking about last time. Even after you get that win, it's not about the games that we've won or lost after 7 games into the season when 3 of those have been against good opponents. Like, it's about the future and trying to project out there. The other thing is, like, we could have an injury. There are just so many things that could go wrong, and not that many teams make it. But I would say maybe 70%. Did you say 65? I'm kind of right there, too.
Yeah, I said like 65, 70.
Yeah, because, like, so many things could go wrong, but I feel like, if we play even a little below where we're at now, and maybe, hopefully, if we play at the same level, we make the tournament, because we should be able to beat some good teams if we do that. So that's a way too early prediction. But speaking of way too early predictions, we predicted at the beginning of the year who would be the most improved player on the team. I said Isaac Copeland, and you said Thomas Allen, right?
I'm pretty sure.
So I think Thomas Allen is out of the running at this point.
I think Nana, took his...
Yeah, the sophomore spot.
Yeah.
And then I think we also have 2 seniors in Glenn Watson and Isaac Copeland, which is kind of interesting. You usually don't think of seniors as being the most improved players, especially when, we were talking about Copeland, how he had a great season last year. But it seems like Copeland has been incredibly efficient, maybe the most important player on the team so far. And I said that would happen because, I didn't say he'd be the most important player on the team, but I said he'd be really good because he didn't have an injury that is bringing him down, and he's a really good athlete and really has all the tools to do it. But who would you say so far has been the most improved player?
Not really sure. Copeland's been super good, but he was good last year. Is just even better this year. But when you think of most improved, you think of kind of non-factor to big factor transition, and you could almost argue that with Glenn in a way, just because, like, I mean, last year was definitely a rough year for him. But, like, also it was, like, you expected him to do well last year, so it's not like you didn't really expect him to do good, and then now he's doing super good. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's just good that we have 3 people who are legitimate contenders for this, and we think are all good options. I might actually go with Glenn. I mean, he probably wasn't quite as good the last game or two, but he was really good, especially in the Seton Hall game and stuff. Missouri State, I think. I don't remember. But he was really good early on, and I think he might be probably the player that you pick there. But definitely, Nana I think he only had 5 points. Let's see.
I mean, if it was 5, they were all in, like, the first
it was
3
in the
minutes
first
of him
few
coming
minutes.
in the game.
He played 13 minutes and so he had 5 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist in the last game against Clemson. Thomas Allen played 31 minutes and had 5 points, 3 assists, and 1 rebound.
Yeah,
So
I don't know why they're not playing Nana more. Like, I feel like he might even be a little better on defensive end. I mean, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, he's
a little bigger.
He's bigger and more athletic.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's actually quite a bit bigger because Thomas Allen is so small.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I tweeted out that I said, like, Nana is better than Thomas Allen right now, and then
Well, the commentator
Thomas Allen
said something. Like, Nana hit, like, a 3, they get to his, like, 5 points, and then 30 seconds after he got taken out, and the commentator's like, why are they taking him out? Like, you should be saying coach.
Well, I tweeted that out, and then Thomas Allen hit the, like, big 3 at the end of the game, so I was like, well, I mean, that worked out, but after 31 minutes, maybe it could have been a little bit more. Thomas Allen has seemed to struggle. I think the announcers they acted like they had talked to Miles, and they said that he had been playing, or Miles said that he had been playing a lot better in practice, and they just really need to see it more on the floor, and they hoped it would happen, but obviously it hasn't happened for him yet. I think last year they said he always played better in all the big games, like against Kansas and stuff, but it seems like in the big games this year he hasn't done so well. But hopefully, obviously, he can get back to his form and start shooting threes a little better. I think that's just the biggest thing. He's got to be able to knock down the open threes that he gets, and he's kind of struggled to do that, even though he hasn't had a lot of opportunities. This is the part where Jake had to leave, and that's okay because I'll go into what we're seeing from Illinois so far. So Illinois is 2-5, I believe. They have played a pretty tough schedule. They've beaten 2 pretty bad teams, including Mississippi Valley State, who they only beat by 19. That might be a little scary. Hopefully they're not that bad. And they beat Evansville by 29. So those 5 losses, though, they all come to pretty good teams, and some of them make them kind of look dangerous. So Gonzaga, who just beat Duke and became the number 1 team in the nation, they only lost to them 84-78. They lost to Iowa State by 18, so that's a pretty big one. Lost to Xavier by 9, and just recently in their last game, they only lost by 2 to Notre Dame in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. They also lost to Georgetown by 8. So definitely a tough team, even though their record doesn't look like it. I've heard that they shoot threes pretty well. And obviously that's something that can get you if they just have a super hot night. It's a make or miss association, I guess, not league. But they could just hit a bunch of threes and really go off, and we could lose the game if we don't make ours. So that we're going to have to play good defense on them because we can prevent them from doing that, but hopefully they just have a bad shooting night overall. It looks like we could see maybe our first, I don't remember seeing any other press defense. They try to play really aggressive on defense and try to get turnovers, which I think we definitely struggled with that in the Texas Tech game. I don't think overall we've struggled too much with turnovers, but they do play a poor interior defense. That's probably because they're going for turnovers, going for steals, and trying to press out on us, kind of like Texas Tech did.